21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
For you, what is drive and which kind of experience are you referring to?
So for me, I like to work with people that I tell people always be an expert at one thing, okay? Don't try and be a jack of all trade, a master of nothing. Be an expert at one thing. I like to work with niche players. I like to work with someone who's very focused, very driven, as you say. So focused, driven, charismatic, and focused on one area. So if you're looking for the cure for cancer, don't worry about making money or don't worry about clinical trials. Don't worry about, future patients or who's going to buy you out. Worry about what is your therapeutic, what is your, unique process or technology that you think you can help find a cure for that disease. Focus on that, be the best at that. All the other pieces of the puzzle will fall in place. It's easy to hire, other people or experts in certain areas. Don't try and be a jack of all trades, master of nothing. Be a master of one thing and not a jack of all trades. So that's that's for me, it's really important to find, and whether it's, I'm working on, for example, a fintech deal with a specific, SaaS type platform, and the guy who set up the company, he helps people refinance their loans and their property. He was a loan and credit officer at a major bank in Silicon Valley for, 10 years. That's his expertise. He understands that business. For 20 years, all he did was lend people money and refinance debt. So when he went and created a platform for lenders and for borrowers to come together, he understands what are the bottlenecks and what are the problems in that space, because he was on the physical lending side and he was dealing with borrowers all the time. So he really understands that space, but he could go out and he found a great development team to build his platform. He found a great CFO. He found a great COO. He found a great administrator. He doesn't need to be a master of everything, but he understands his niche. So he's a niche player, just like me. I work with 9 different sectors, Martin, but I'm an expert and a niche player at what I do. My specialty is helping founders, package their business, scale up, raise money, and go public. That's all I do, whether it's a biotech deal, an oil deal, a mining deal, a fintech deal, a metaverse, doesn't matter. My process and my roadmap is the same roadmap and process. There are different sections that, I have like 9 or 11 steps or 17 steps in my different processes. Your company may only utilize 8 of those steps, someone else may use 11 of them, so it's like a plug and play, There's a myth that people feel like they need to be experts at everything. And you know what? That's a real myth, and it's actually a disadvantage. So I think the first and most important thing is, the difference between an executive and an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs need to have resilience. They need to be very resilient. They need to be willing to take criticism. Take criticism, listen to the criticism. It doesn't mean you need to change. Listen to criticism, be resilient. If you believe in your business and you believe it works, stick with it. Perfect example is Airbnb. Brian Chesky went out to 60 VCs and, 50 of them turned him down and said, this is ridiculous. Why would I go now? And when I can go online and book a hotel, or if I can go to a villa rental company and book with them direct, why do I need a platform to find homes? And he figured out a big problem. You had this emerging generation of people that purchased second homes and third homes because there were no rental markets. People like myself, I have homes in multiple places, okay? And you now are no longer going to the home all the time because your kids don't want to go to the same place. You want to go to holiday in different places. So what do you do now? You don't want to sell it. You don't want to rent it out to someone all year long. You want to rent it out specific weeks when you're not using it. So he created a great platform for those people, And he stuck with it, even though people told him it's a bad idea and we're not giving you money. And it's a multi-billion-dollar company today. Amazon is another perfect example. Amazon, he created an online platform to sell books. Was it a great idea? At the time, it was a great idea. Again, he went out to, I think, 60 people. 20 of the 60 people invested and they got 20% of the company. People failed to realize Amazon's IPO was only $54 million. It was a small IPO on NASDAQ. But he created a platform and a user base that once it worked, and he had the proof of concept and he saw that people were using it, he could plug into that platform coffee, water, electronics, everything. Now Amazon is what it is today. Same with Facebook. Let's not look at Facebook's recent share destruction, but let's look at Facebook or Meta now as a company. When he started out as a platform for college kids to communicate, which what Facebook originally was set up for, no one expected, them to buy Instagram, to buy other businesses. No one expected to get hit with ads. Everyone asked, how is this going to make money? What is the money maker here? And the money maker turned out to be advertising and marketing, because people stopped watching TV. They stopped reading papers. Everything went digital and ads came online. Same with Google. Google was a search engine. Everyone said, how are they going to make money? Well, now everybody Googles everything, and your ad pops up based on your pay per click, how much you're paying. So I think the key is resilience, take in criticism, be resilient, be determined, okay? Don't give up, okay? People say, have the mentality that failure is not an option, okay? I always say that. Failure is not an option. So it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to lose money. If you lose money testing out a proof of concept and it doesn't work, yeah, some investors are going to get angry and say, you burned through this money and you have nothing to show. But you didn't waste that money. Sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and it's a trial by error process. So you need to test out. I'm a big believer in trying out new things, trying out new marketing, trying out new techniques, trying out ways of lead generation. So it's really important. The difference between an entrepreneur and a CEO is an entrepreneur will have a vision, they'll be determined, they'll be resilient, they will go out at all stops, and they will take criticism and they will take abuse. They will have thick skin. Look at people like Elon Musk. How much abuse has this guy taken? When Tesla started out as a car company, people laughed at Tesla. They were basically buying the body from Lotus. It was a Lotus car. You remember the first Roadster, you would see them in the UK and the US in like 2007, 8, 9. They sold only hundreds of cars. They didn't even have that many cars. And everyone said, how are you going to compete against GM and Ford and all these other companies? And now look at them. Their market cap's bigger than GM and Ford together. So, but he stuck with it. Everyone says, what a success. It was not an overnight success. It was 20 years in the making. He was determined. He never gave up. He kept pushing. He took the abuse. He took the ridicule, the biggest line, someone used to always say to me, the seed of ridicule is envy. Okay, they used to say, so, look at him. Bezos was, people did not like him. His company was losing money and burned through, tons of money before it became profitable. Facebook, same thing. Their IPO went down dramatically. It's still like today, 3 times above its IPO price. It was at one point 20 times above its IPO price. But you look at also at Bill Gates. Bill Gates, Microsoft started as a company to make operating systems. They were not doing everything that they do today. Steve Jobs as well. They fired him from Apple originally because he was too visionary, and then they brought him back and he transformed the entire company. A perfect example is BlackBerry. BlackBerry was a massive success, research in motion, and then their product became obsolete. They were not willing to adapt themselves. They were, and that's another big problem. A big successful thing of entrepreneurs is adaptability, being able to adapt yourself to changing market conditions. And so, for example, a perfect example is Bezos adapted himself with his platform to sell everything. Facebook realized the power of social media and they were going to be left behind. So instead of going and trying to kill their competition and eliminate them, they bought them and they took them over. Microsoft, the same thing. Microsoft realized how important certain things are, so they went and acquired a bunch of companies. Airbnb as well. They realized that. Lots of these companies, Elon Musk too, he realized that. He realized, when he merged with PayPal, what became PayPal was part of his company with Peter Thiel's company. They realized very, very quickly as well. So I think the key is being able to adapt to changing market conditions. The world today, you had Web 1, you had Web 2, now we're in Web 3. Now you have the metaverse, you've got AR, you've got VR. That you need to adapt yourself to changing market conditions always. And that's the real difference between CEOs and entrepreneurs. And now, not all entrepreneurs are good CEOs. A perfect example was Bill Gates, had, Paul Allen. Bill Gates said, I'm a visionary guy. I'm a great chairman. I can think, 30,000 feet above the sky, and I have great ideas, but there are better people to run the company than me, and that's really an important decision. And I think it's a big, there are a lot of CEOs out there that they might not be visionary and have great ideas, but they're very good at execution. Okay, so the difference between a good CEO and an entrepreneur is vision versus execution. It's great to have amazing ideas and have this vision, but you need to execute on that vision, and you need a team to execute. And that great team of yours means you're going to need a great CEO, you're going to need a great COO, you're going to need a great CFO, you're going to need a great corporate communications. You're going to need 5-6 people on your team that are going to be able to execute your vision and implement your business plan and your ideas. And that's the real big difference between a CEO and call it a founder entrepreneur.
So regarding trying new things and all those personality traits and approaches, so being resilient, adaptability, visionary, determined, etc. What have been some of your most successful investments? Can you continue with examples now in your area of expertise with your clients?
Sure, for sure. I mean, I'm more of a visionary guy. I'm a closer too, and I've always been able to close, and I'm visionary, but execution, it's difficult, and someone needs to do it on a day-to-day basis, and there's a lot of moving parts, in an equation. So my most successful venture was, I had an oil and gas company that I created with my partner. It was a Canadian company. We had an asset. We had an oil concession in Kenya, and we acquired the concession and we started this company. We raised a bunch of money for the company, but we realized very quickly this project was too big for us alone. So we hired a professional CEO and a professional chief geologist. We brought a CEO that came out of Apache, energy, big major producer. We brought a COO who was like COO, chief geologist. He came out of Anadarko, another massive company. And they were driving, the ship and leading the company. We were in the background with the vision and helping to finance it. And, we took it as far as we could. And we came into the financial crisis, and it needed serious money. And, we were at the crossroad where the company is either going to go bust, or you're going to have to, team up and partner with someone that not only has vision like you, but actually can execute and has experience as an entrepreneur executing a large-scale project. So we merged the company with a company called Africa Oil. Africa Oil was part of the Lundin Group. Lucas Lundin, who passed away this past summer, was, one of Canada's greatest, resource entrepreneurs of all time. I mean, just a total legend, total legend. The best resilience I've ever seen, the most charismatic, the most determined, fantastic. His company went from $1 billion market cap to 220 in the crisis, but they had cash. They had a exceptional management team, exceptional CEO and a gentleman named Keith Hill. They had a great CFO and a gentleman named Gary Guidry. So two amazing entrepreneurs that were within his group that had experience as C-suite executives, but also as entrepreneurs who could execute. So we merged our company. They acquired us in an all-share transaction, and they brought in a big operator to operate the block. They drilled, and they, drilled multiple wells and turned it into a producing block. And Kenya is now an oil-producing nation because of Africa Oil's execution on our concession. And we were a big part of that equation. But would have we been able to do it on our own? Maybe. I doubt it. I don't think we'd be able to. No, they raised a couple $1 billion to execute the project, I don't think anyone would have given us a couple $1 billion. Maybe we'd raise 100, 200 million in a good market, but that wasn't enough for the project. And so sometimes the greatest skill of an entrepreneur is to also know when to let go of their baby and move it up the food chain. Okay. Some of the greatest success stories, I made more money on that project by handing it to someone else and letting them carry the baton and drive the ship and take it forward than if I held on to it myself. Sometimes you make more money by owning a smaller piece of a massive pie than by owning a big piece of a smaller pie that nobody wants to eat. You understand? So it's like, I'll give you a perfect example. There are certain types of foods. I have across the street from my house a Polish restaurant. It's fantastic. I love it, and I think it's the best food ever. 3 doors down, there's a burger place, which is terrible. But there's a lineup of 100 people outside the burger place every day, and I can always get a table at the Polish restaurant. So the audience is smaller than the other place, but it's their ability, right? And so the difference is that this bigger company had a much better ability to execute on their business plan than we did, and so we made a lot more money by being a smaller player in a bigger company. And so that's probably one of my biggest, I would say that's my biggest success. And it's rare for me because up until that point in 2009, my exit plan was always through an IPO or a listing of my own companies and my own businesses. I never thought about creating a business and giving it to someone else to take public. That was never my strategy. I would have never looked at that. And in the past 10, 12 years, that strategy changed. I said, hey, sometimes you can make more money by creating the opportunity, nurturing it and scaling it up, and then handing it off to someone else who is higher up the food chain than you. It's also important for people, be ambitious and punch above your belt, but also know your place on the totem pole. Do you understand, Martin? Know what your limitations are. Sometimes people think it's great to think and aspire for great things and think you can do anything and you can do everything, but also you need to be realistic, with your expectation levels.
So besides Polish food, any specific mindset or daily routine? What's your recipe for success?
My recipe for success is one, I'm very focused. I like to be better to have one bird in your hand than 5 on the tree. Too many times I see people chasing dreams and chasing a million things, and they're what they call in America, they're swinging for the fences, okay, in baseball. They're trying to hit home runs rather than hitting singles and doubles consistently. So I'm a big believer, hit singles and doubles consistently, get experience. You'll be able to determine the pitch when it comes to you, and then once in a while you'll get lucky and hit triples or home runs. So be focused. Better to have one bird in your hand than 5 on the tree. Be focused, close, start small and grow. You don't have to be an overnight success. Sometimes you get lucky. And I've been lucky. So, listen, I'm 47, turning 48. I've been doing what I do for 22 years now, almost 23 years. I've been independent for almost 20 years. Okay, 19 years I've been independent. And I've been very fortunate that I'd say probably 3 times in my life, like that, deal, Turkana, that Kenyan deal, the stars have been aligned and all the forces of the universe have come together at the right time and at the same time. And I've had a huge win and a huge exit, and I've been very fortunate. I've also had, tremendous and catastrophic losses and made big mistakes. And that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. Make mistakes, be able to pick yourself up. Know what your limitations are. If you have a huge win, put some money aside. You don't have to go and spend all your money all the time when you make money. A lot of people make mistakes. They make money and they over leverage, or they spend thinking that, great, I made, $5-10 million on this project. I'm going to be able to do it all the time. And, a perfect example for me is, I had this huge exit in 2009-10. And I thought, oh, wow, I'm going to easily replicate that success. I went and burned through $3-4 million of my hard-earned money, trying to chase dreams of, reliving this glory. and I took good money and threw it after bad money, and I lost it all. And then I finally had to sit back and say, you know what? I didn't even give myself time to savor and enjoy the success and the exit and learn from that and figure out what's my next move. I just dove right into it head first. So I think the key is, be focused, one bird in your hand and five on the tree. Be really good at one thing. And if you're good at that thing, don't try and diversify. So too many times someone is the best at one sector. They're a massive fintech player. They created a great, maybe they created, a financial platform and they knocked it out of the park, made a ton of money. Now they're investing in real estate. They're investing in oil and gas. They're trying to diversify their holdings. They're convincing themselves, I made all this money. I don't want to lose it. I'm going to diversify. And then they lose their shirt in other spaces, crypto, gaming, biotech, medtech. If you're really good at one thing, be focused on that one thing. You don't have to change it. You could be the best at what you do your entire life. Okay, it's one thing adapting yourself in your sector or your area of focus. It's another thing trying to diversify into sectors and areas that you don't understand because you think you're an expert and you do.
So making money, burning money, all that stress. I mean, do you experience it as a stress, or what's the mindset behind your success?
Oh, I experience stress all day long. I mean, listen, I live with stress.
So stress is stress for you still.
So I would say if you're a founder and entrepreneur, you're always going to have stress. And if you can't live with the stress, then go get a 9-to-5 job. There is no, so the life of an entrepreneur, the life of myself as an entrepreneur, and most of the entrepreneurs I deal with, it's not a job. So being a founder and a creator of a business and a disruptor, it's your life. It's not your job. It's not your career. It's who you are. It defines who you are and what you do. And stress will come with it. And you just have to accept that stress. You have to accept that things are going to happen. Good things, bad things. You're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there's always going to be bad things happening. The minute you expect, to come up against a brick wall and sometimes, hit obstacles and roadblocks, that's when everything's going to be okay. If you expect, always to smell the roses and not to have garbage in front of you, then you're going to, you're not going to accept failure and you're not going to accept the stress. And so I just accept it. It's part of my daily routine. I expect problems to happen. And so when they happen, of course, I'm going to be disappointed and you're going to be let down when you hit obstacles and roadblocks. That's part of life, but you have to just be ready for, failure and for problems to happen. You have to accept the stress. You have to find ways to reduce stress. And so for me, I like to walk every day. I try to put in 10 to 15,000 steps. I walk probably a couple hours a day. I like to work out as much as I can. I try to work out, 3-4 times a week. And I shut my phone off. It's really important to take time out. I like to read as well. I like to shut my phone off and read. I don't look at my phone or social media or television past a certain hour. I try to sort of wind down. I just try and spend time with my family and my kids. I think, being in a relationship, having kids is stress reduction in itself. When you look at your kids and you see, them growing up in front of you and you realize that, what does this really matter? Whether you do an extra deal, we're all, here's the facts. Okay. We're all born the same and we all die the same. Okay. We're all coming out of a body and we're all going into a coffin, a box, or a jar, depending on what happens, whether you're being buried or cremated. So we're all born the same. We all die the same. Okay. Two things are going to happen to you. You're going to die and you're going to pay taxes. Whether you pay taxes when you're alive or when you die, you're going to pay it. So at the end of the day, life is not a contest. And I tell this to my kids all the time. And I tell this to people. And, when I was in my 20s and 30s, Martin, I wanted to accumulate everything. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Patek Philippe watches, homes everywhere, go on holidays. You're in this life of, following other people, wanting, expensive, beautiful things. Then all of a sudden you accumulate these things and you don't have time to enjoy them and use them. And you realize that, who cares? At the end of the day, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you want everybody to know you. When you're in your 40s and 50s and you make money, you want anonymity and you don't want anybody to know you. And you want to live a life of, peace and tranquility and not have that. So I think it's like a transformation. And I tell people, you know what? Go buy that Ferrari, go buy that $100,000, $200,000 watch, enjoy it, savor it, go on that $100,000 holiday, go rent that private jet. If that's what you want to do and that was your goal, don't listen to anyone else. It's your money. You made it. You earned it. You can spend it. You can burn it. It's no one else's money to spend but yours. I worry today only about what's in my pocket and what's in my bank account. I don't worry about other people. And so, life is about change and about transformation. And I think you just have to accept the punches as they come.
Generation Z.
Totally different. This is a generation that grew up with social media, seeing what everyone has. And now they're realizing this social media is not real. They're waking up all of a sudden and saying, everything our parents told us and our grandparents told us, we don't need that. So they're realizing, I don't need a second home anymore and a vacation home. If I want to go on holiday, I don't want to be stuck going to the same place in south of France or Tuscany or the Caribbean or America. I can go on Airbnb or One Fine Stay or VRBO or all these things. I can rent a beautiful villa anywhere in the world, the press of a button. I don't need to worry about buying a home, a second mortgage, maintenance, staff, anything. If I'm rich and I have money, cash is king. Better to have liquidity than to have debt. So they're realizing today, better to have more money. And that's why the market today has bounced back so strong compared to 2008, 2009. In 2008, people like you and me were over leveraged. We were buying and buying. We had second mortgages, homes, vacation properties. All of a sudden, interest rates went up. You couldn't repay it. Your income went down. You were screwed. So that's why today, this whole generation of Gen Z, they only have one home. Some of them don't even own a home because they're living this what's called nomadic lifestyle. Today, I want to live now. I can go to Bali. I can go to Portugal. I could go to, Prague. I could go to Kiev. I could go to London. I could go to LA. I could go to New York. People today are portable. When you and I were starting out over 20 years ago, you couldn't run your business from a mobile phone or a laptop. You had to be physically in an office. You couldn't meet someone like we are now on Zoom or on a video portal and speak with someone. I'm doing road shows on Zoom without even meeting investors. And people say to me, is it a disadvantage? No, it's an advantage. Investors don't want people coming and meeting them anymore. They don't want a guy flying from London or Israel or India or Hong Kong on a plane with 400 people. Who knows what diseases or what illnesses they're going to get. They're now going to come in their office, spread germs. The guy's going to go home. His grandkids are going to get sick. And now he's not going to be able to go to Miami on holiday for Christmas time. So now you've ruined the guy's period. He'd rather just see 10 people on Zoom and say yes, no, and press a button. So my advice to Gen Z is, you be happy. You're fortunate to benefit from all this technological advancement. You have all these technologies to your advantage. Use them wisely. Okay. So learn from mistakes of the past generations. Don't overspend, save. You don't need to have more than one home. So when you have that one home, buy the home that you're comfortable with and you're wise with. Don't buy a home that you're going to flip every 2, 3, 4 years. Buy a place that is your one home, own it, enjoy it, raise your family in it. Okay. Don't over borrow. It's okay to own your home without a mortgage. Don't listen to people telling you, oh, all these people on Instagram are saying, you don't need to own your home. You can use that money and make more money. Sometimes you take that money, that's your security blanket, and you can lose it. They tell you you can make money. They never tell you you can lose money, So it's great, all these, people that are, on social media claiming to be, experts at everything, but it's important to own your home and don't over leverage. Too many people I've seen lose their homes and lose their security blanket. So it's okay to spend a little bit of money. You want to have a watch, buy one nice watch. You don't need 10 watches. You want to have a nice car, buy a nice car. You don't have to buy the newest, flashiest car. You want a Ferrari, buy a 2-3-year-old Ferrari and put the rest of the money in the stock market. Save for the future and save for a rainy day, because a rainy day always comes. You might be at your prime earning power. I was making more money in my late 20s, early 30s than I am now in my late 40s. If you would have asked me 20 years ago, I would have thought for sure I'd be way more advanced. And, you learn from mistakes. I've made mistakes too with money. If I could turn the clock back in time, I would change things. Many things I would change. Do I have regrets? Yeah, I have regrets, but I'm also very happy. I've learned from mistakes. The key is learn from your mistakes. That's another important thing. It's okay to make mistakes, but learn from them. Martin, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've been following it. I've listened to a number of them. They're fantastic. You do a great job. You have a great community. I'm really, really honored and pleased to be on the podcast. If anyone wants to get hold of me, they can reach out to me on my website, which I think you're going to put on afterwards. So go to my website, book a discovery call with myself and my team, email me. My email's on there as well. Reach out to me on Instagram. My Instagram is down below as well. It's at Ron Bauer 888. That's my Twitter and Facebook too. My LinkedIn is down below. I'm the easiest guy to reach if you've got a great business opportunity or you need someone to mentor you and help you out. Please reach out. I'm always interested in hearing great, exciting opportunities.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.